I am Dr. Larry Hatcher. This is Psych 302 Computer Applications in Data Analysis. And this video is about Jamovi Exercise 03501, The Shapes of Distributions. Exercise overview. It's divided into three sections. Task one, I'm going to show you how to perform the analysis in Jamovi, or rather, I should say, you're going to show me how to perform the analysis in Jamovi. Task two, once you've done the analysis, you'll take my multiple choice quiz, and I have a study guide as part of this exercise that will get you ready for that multiple choice quiz. And task three, you'll upload your Jamovi file in Canvas assignments. The investigation. Imagine you're trying to identify variables that can be used to predict college student success. You believe it should be possible to predict success from variables such as the student's involvement in campus organizations, their level of academic achievement, motivation, and so forth. To conduct the research, you've developed an instrument called the Undergraduate Activities Questionnaire, the UAQ, and you've administered it to over 200 college students. You now will analyze a few of its variables and compute some basic descriptive statistics. Below are the names and brief descriptions of the 5 variables that you'll analyze. You will analyze SAT verbal. That's going to be the raw score on the SAT verbal test. Theoretically, these scores on the original version of the SAT could range from 208 to 800, and higher scores reflected higher levels of ability in reading, vocabulary, and related skills. One of your variables will be SAT quantitative, SAT quant. That's going to be the raw score on the SAT quantitative test. Theoretically, these scores could range from 200 to 800, and higher scores here reflect higher levels of ability in numerical reasoning and so forth. One of the variables you'll analyze I call S33 health problems. That's going to be the student's score on my health problem scale. Scores here could range from 1 to 7. Higher values indicate more serious health problems. And you're going to analyze S88 ACAD self-efficacy. This is going to be their score on the academic self-efficacy scale. Scores could once again range from 1 to 7. Higher values indicate stronger self-belief that the student has the ability to earn a letter grade of A in a typical college course. I'm on page 2 now. We come to task 1, performing the analysis in Jamovi. You'll now use Jamovi to compute descriptive statistics and request a variety of plots for the preceding variables. In doing this, you'll follow the instructions provided in lecture notes, chapter 035, Shapes of Distributions. In this exercise, this is what you'll do. Follow the instructions in the section headed Starting Jamovi and Opening the Dataset to, start Jamovi and open the dataset. Dataset that you open will be one that had originally been named Undergrad Activities Data. You should have already downloaded this dataset from Canvas when completing an earlier exercise, so it should be saved on one of your drives. If you need to download it again for any reason, see the instructions in the section headed Downloading the Jamovi Dataset from Canvas in Lecture Notes, Chapter 025. That is a previous previous chapter. Talking again about today's exercise. Once you've opened the dataset in Jamovi, you'll use the descriptives procedure to request statistics and graphs similar to those that appear in the lecture notes section headed Requesting Descriptive Statistics and Plots. Request only the following 4 variables be analyzed in the variables box, and you should list them in the following order: SAT verbal, SAT quant, S33 health problems, and S88 academic self-efficacy. In the descriptives analysis options panel, check and uncheck boxes so that only the following statistics are requested. These statistics. Also, in the descriptives analysis options panel, check and uncheck boxes so that only the following plots and plot options have been requested, and it is these plots and plot options that you will request. Now, it's possible that the descriptives table that first appears in your results panel will be organized as variables across columns, and if so, you must transpose the rows and columns so that it's instead organized as variables across rows. In the lecture notes mentioned earlier, I show how to do this. Important, do add your name to the top of your Jamovi results panel. My lecture notes shows how that's done. You'll save your Jamovi file. Eventually, you'll upload it into the appropriate Canvas assignment for this exercise. However, it's a good idea to first complete the tasks described in the section below, headed Task 2, taking the multiple choice quiz. It's usually a good idea to at least look at the study guide and ideally even take the multiple choice quiz before you upload your assignment, because taking that quiz might clue you in that you did something wrong with in doing your analysis. To make it more likely that you'll have the right results, I give you a preview of the correct Jamovi results. If you create your data set and perform statistical analysis correctly, the results you obtain should match the results provided below, except it should be your name that appears below the results heading, and the various types of plots will not be organized in the side-by-side arrangement that I show below. The reason I give you this preview of Jamovi results is I expect you to check your numbers against my numbers and make sure they match. You don't have to check every single number, but for example, when you look at your descriptives table, at a minimum, you should look at the column-headed mean. Do your means match my means? Look at the column-headed SD for standard deviation. Do your standard deviations match mine? If so, it's very, very likely you did the analysis correctly. Again, you don't have to check every single number, but I do expect you to check some of the statistics and verify that your statistics match my statistics. These are some of the plots that you will produce when you do the analysis. As I mentioned a bit earlier, the only difference between my plots versus your plots is your plots will not be organized side by side. Here you can see that for SAT verbal, I have the frequency histogram, I have the box plot, and I have the QQ plot. In your output, they won't appear side by side like this, but they'll be one under the other. The frequency diagram, the frequency histogram, below that would be a box plot, below that would be a QQ plot. But otherwise, your plots should resemble my plots. I'm on page 5 now, top of page 5. This is what your plots should look like for academic self-efficacy. Task 2, taking the multiple choice quiz. At the same time that I assign this exercise, I'll also publish a related multiple choice quiz in Canvas. This section of this exercise provides a study guide that should help you prepare for my quiz. If you can answer the open-ended questions provided below, you should do well on the multiple choice items that'll appear on my multiple choice quiz. The items on that quiz might ask about any of the 4 variables you analyzed, not necessarily limited to the specific variables that are mentioned in my study guide below. And notice that some of the following items ask the same question, just using different words. And that's because I want you to understand these concepts using more than just one set of words. I'm not going to go over all the questions on this study guide, but I'll mention a few of them just to give you a flavor of what to expect. One of the study guide items asks, for the variable SAT verbal, how many participants provided usable data? In my lecture notes, I show you what table you need to look at and what statistic you should see there that will tell you how many participants provided usable data. Study guide question 5, based on the physical appearance of the frequency histograms, which variable comes closest to displaying a negatively skewed distribution? Is it SAT verbal? Is it S33 health problems? Is it S88 academic self-efficacy? Why? And yes, in the lecture notes, I talk about skew and what a negatively skewed distribution looks like, and that gives you what you need to answer a question like question 5. Question 8, imagine the only information you had concerning 4 variables you analyzed were values in the column-headed skewness in your table of descriptive statistics. Based only on these statistics, which of the 4 variables most clearly displayed a negative skew? Why do you say that? Yes, in the lecture notes, I talk about the skewness statistic and how you interpret it. And question 11 is similar. Consider the QQ plots for the variables SAT verbal, S33 health problems. Based only on a visual review of these QQ plots, Which variable's distribution probably comes closest to being normal in shape? Why do you say that? Yes, in the lecture notes, I talked about QQ plots and what's the signature of a normally shaped distribution if you're just looking at the QQ plot. So those are study guide items to help you get ready for the multiple choice quiz. When you're ready, you'll complete task 3, uploading your Jamovi file in Canvas assignments. You'll upload the Jamovi file that you just created in Canvas assignments. It's a good idea to complete multiple choice quiz described above before you upload this Jamovi file, because completing that quiz might alert you to possible errors in your Jamovi analysis. That brings us to the end of this exercise, which was Jamovi Exercise 03501, Shapes of Distributions.